Hey guys, this time I'm going to show you how to pick and install LED headlights. LED headlights are an easy and low cost upgrade. Not only does it make your headlights brighter, but they also look cool and use less electricity. I'm going to spend a minute or two talking about LED selection. If you want to skip to the how to install part of the video, jump forward to the timestamp shown on the screen. Perhaps the biggest challenge to installing LED headlights is picking the LED headlight itself. A quick Amazon search returns dozens if not hundreds of products that match the H7 standard that fits the CBR300 bulb socket. So how do you pick? There are three main things to think about when selecting an LED headlight. First, position of the light source. Does the LED closely approximate the OEM bulb? This is important because the reflector behind the headlight was designed based on the expectation of light being emitted in all directions from the filament location. If the replacement LED headlight has wide sides where there's no light, or if the LEDs are higher up or lower down than the filament on a traditional bulb, the light pattern emitted won't look right on the road. 2. What kind of heatsink is used? There are two main strategies for ejecting heat from the LED: passive and active. Passive is just a block of metal, usually with a lot of surface area from fins or cutouts. The thermal mass and thermal conductivity of the metal will draw the heat away from the LED, and then it relies on passive heat loss through radiation and passive convection. Depending on the amount of heat being generated, the ambient temperature, and how good the heatsink is, this can work perfectly fine. Even so, note that passively cooled LEDs are pretty much always going to run hotter than actively cooled LEDs. Speaking of which, an actively cooled LED is basically the same as a passive plus an electric fan to force convect the heat away. By ejecting more heat, it keeps the whole assembly cooler, and this generally is better for the life of the LED because high heat exposure will damage almost any electronics given enough time. Third, driver geometry. To provide just the right amount of voltage and amperage, an LED driver and controller with an integrated circuit is in line between the power socket and the LED itself. There are two typical form factors for this: an external driver, like this, or an integrated driver, like this. Obviously both work, but there are different pros and cons. The integrated driver fits in a much smaller package and might be preferred for fitting in a tight space, whereas the external driver is conveniently separate from the LED heat source and therefore less likely to suffer heat damage over time. So what should you pick? It doesn't really matter. As long as the parts store you buy it from confirms that it matches the CBR300, it should work. I bought this one off of Amazon because it was cheap and it says it's good for 30,000 hours. If it fails a long time before that, well, I guess I'll spend a little more next time. For the CBR300, you can replace the headlights without removing any fairings at all. It's just a little fiddly. If you want full and open access, it's pretty quick and easy to remove the upper cowl. Check out this video if you want to see how that's done. I'm going to do it with the upper cowl in place, so it's a little tricky to show the retention mechanism. It's basically held in place by a spring retainer that's typical of many headlights for cars and motorcycles. Also worth noting, the OEM bulbs come with a little standoff that I needed to remove from the OEM bulb and install onto the LED bulbs. One other thing to be aware of is that LEDs have a polarity, meaning that if you install it backwards, it won't work. So if you install the whole thing and they don't turn on, just pull it out, unplug it, rotate 180 degrees, plug it back in and reinstall it, and you should be fine. And that's it. I think it really makes the CBR300 look a lot better. Anyways, thanks for watching, hopefully that was helpful, and we'll see you next time.